Welcome to our lovely future humans, our 5D collective. To those who enjoy emotional intelligence, self reflection, 5D collective, mystic, spiritual, mindful. So, with personal and spiritual growth, if you haven't checked it out yet, the PayHip store, moving from uncertainty to steadiness, and we're going to continue on the topic of pressure. It doesn't break leaders, it exposes them. And emotional steadiness is something that we build thanks to emotional regulation. It is not suppression. People who don't know how to do it, I'm going to pause and let's find out if you are a self leader, being yourself, or if you might not enjoy IHP's content or the PayHip journaling and mindset practices because you're not actively nervous system sovereign and fluent yet. And that's where it's not a race, it's a skill that people who have self-regulation because you're self-led. So in the last 3 days, I've been working with my 3-year-old to come and share with you the topic. That's why we were having an extended, it was 2 days ago, yesterday, and then today. So here's the question I have for you. When you make decisions in life and your relationships, and even when you make decisions to purchase anything, whether it's a PayHip bundle from IHP or a shoe, a purse, a business consultant, a doctor, I don't know, anything you purchase at all. Pause. Okay, I want you to really think about this one because I know where I go. Okay, so are you acting from a sense of urgency, like the fear of missing out thing, a feeling of I'm unsure, I'm afraid, I really need this, or from steadiness and a strong sense of self? And before you answer that, let's also pause to think, can you notice when you are reactive? So being yourself under pressure. The sentence that had me all over the place, and my 3-year-old particularly, is something along the lines of, most people think authenticity is easy, but it's not. And I'm like, yeah, it is. Hello, right here. You don't see me. And so every 3-year-old wants to save the world. And as Terry Real would point out, we hold ourselves accountable the same way we were held. However, when you're a functional child adult, you hold yourself accountable the way that you use your name. How old are you? Awesome. That's the version you are. I'm version 46.0. So conscious human versus the ones who are not. And so when you are pausing yourself, it's because you will hear yourself. I can hear my timbre. I can hear my throat, and you might hear differently than what I hear, but I know when I'm getting accelerated. I know when I'm pausing. It's called introception, the panic attacks that I have had plenty of practice with. And so instead of reacting, I almost reacted, and then I remembered that sovereignty, integrity, character, being emotionally stable is a choice. And that's why the bundle from uncertainty to steadiness is the one you might want to check out, because that actively gets those of you who are practicing it already. Since the fearful ones, yes, they don't win, but they bring chaos due to their destructive, dysregulated, divisive, like Diego's family from Ice Age. So all of those who are dysregulated, their left is all that works, which is why masculines don't test those who are feminines. And I do like to tell you it's not about genders, and you can call it masculine, feminine energy. Sometimes I'll talk to you about the masculine and then the divine masculine, the feminine and the divine feminine. Yes, the whole divinity thing, we talk about that too, and I do let you know there's only one God, source, Akash, Anima Mundi, you call it whatever you want. If you don't believe in God, then you can talk to me about dark matter and dark energy. And at the end of the day, I don't know of cosmic karmic balancing and of God, and love always wins. Physicists know it too. That's because, again, fear, not the healthy kind, the destructive, unhealthy, is about control, the left. So here's a funny story. If you're new, you don't know it. I'm on a diet, a very good diet. It's done wonders. In 1 month alone, my IBS gone. All I had to do is follow the meal plan because, we're primary consciousness and then secondary. So primary is your biology, your body, and then secondary is you think that you are and you know that you are, and that's why, hey, what's up? I want to do that. 3-year-olds don't like to do things that they get told. If you hear Gabor Mate, he'll tell you how we're establishing ourselves. And so that's why, for as much as I forget that I'm human too, Meaning that I have child parts that come up. I catch myself, and in the last 3 days, my 3-year-old's like, it's easy to be authentic. It's easy, it's easy, it's easy. And it's like, okay, calm down. Let's tell the community how easy it is to believe in yourself. And how those who want to break the habit of being themselves, wow. Yeah, that's so sad. I'm so sorry for those children. They're grown up home, meaning the human being who owns them is hiding them away or using them to dress up. So when you do decision making, are you a conscious decision maker or are you a reactive one? And so this is the part of where human consciousness and our lovely evolution and potential arises thanks to you as your own leader, knowing that those who model epistemic laziness are failures of themselves and they're failing. And what will every backstabber out there ever do? They always do the same things. And like Diego's family, which means they're unhealthily doing everything. And so I know that some people are like, oh, but they can create. Yes, they create havoc. They create chaos. Don't worry, there's smart ones out there. In fact, the smart ones are actively equanimous. This is their winning ticket, is they know how to be calm and centered, which is why they're emotionally steady. And that is a true leader, which is what will build a legacy. So while people are busy pointing fingers, because shame, blame, fault, revenge are all charges, the ones who know how to be true leaders are not doing that. It's, okay, stop using words like evil, devil, demon, and, like meaning it. It's one thing we're conversing, but still, as a figure of speech, you might be ignorant of what it is for a human to grow up in an unsafe environment. So while I make fun of the drama kings and drama queens like anybody else does, I understand the therapist who said to me, hey, that's not nice. They actively aren't choosing to be hooked on their drama, like those who are hooked on their anxiety. And as I've said, not to them because they were teaching me in a virtual course, but I've said to the community, guess what happens when you talk to drama kings and drama queens and anxiety addicted fantasy people about things? They don't believe in their first 3 years of life meaning anything. They don't believe in science. In fact, when you tell them demons don't exist, there's no energy vampire in the bodies of anybody. Yes, there's channeling and downloading, but that doesn't take place, so they will say, but you navigate the plane, you've seen. Yes, I have. But we don't get deluded by our imagination. And what I mean by that is when you're grounded in a strong sense of self, like a self-regulating body is. That's why the 5D mystic here didn't ever get lost. My foundation is clear. God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. I became opened up to clairs, which are the same as spiritual gifts. I get rejected by those who don't believe we can bring it all in. I got told why, because I asked a question. And they told me that God doesn't need science, which I knew already. But I'm like, but scientists prove, like Jesus said, that everybody has the kingdom of God within them. And that it's this, and their body is headed towards it, because that's human evolution and how our bodies work. But they deny it. Oh, I'm sorry, no, not everyone. Only the ones who don't want it. In fact, they go against the very people who are looking to explain through the polyvagal theory a lens that helps people to connect to their fight, flight, freeze, flop, drop, and all of that, and to make it more understandable what's going on. There's your 8-year-old, Pat Ogden. So when people are denying and getting upset at science that explains things, it's like, why would you do that? They explain spirit's perfection and that everybody might not want to move into their perfection. Well, that's a whole other story. Urgency, reactivity, lack of self-leadership. It's very obvious who they are. They don't pause, they don't become aware, and they don't lead themselves. And they, in fact, actually, not only do they tell us how amazing those who are leading in ways that are monstrous are doing, they continue to support them and actually put them on pedestals. But if you ever came across a lovely therapist who's for childhood trauma survivors called Patrick Tian, you'll understand what's going on because he explains it the best. And while he's not ready to forgive all parents, because he says, when they say forgive the parents, why should we? They did the best they can. We all know that. He's there for the community who needs him to be there for them. I'm here to say we all can forgive our ancestors for their ignorance, and we will continue to do so. And when the history books will be written, we will know why the monstrous activities will be written in the exact way at a certain point that they should be. Because the minute that you deny what is right, that it feels right, feelings, well, we're all feels. The only difference is some of us come with love, honesty, authenticity, interest, care, and subjective awareness of how reality works, which means that I have a perception and you do too. And with the element of the first 3 years of your life and mine, they can taint every single bit of everything. Like mine getting all pissy in her pants because it is easy to be authentic. It is easy. And so that's my 3-year-old. My 16-year-old is simply like, yeah, I met teenagers. Yeah, they don't like impaired people. They don't like intelligent people. I asked about homework on a Friday evening. They booed me. Had they touched me, I would have ratted every single one of them out. Now I'm a 46-year-old woman. You know what happens when my friends on Pinocchio Island let me know of their bad habits? I say this. You know I do personal and spiritual growth. You know I have journaling prompts and mindset practices. You could totally use them. I'll give them to you for free because I love you so much. But the question is, are you willing to do it? Because it seems that you're telling me that you don't want to, and that you want to continue with micro habits of basically what's going to lead you to drink in a way that is very, very, very clearly unhealthy for you. And I drink a little wine, I smoke a little cigars, but again, and even then, I still do know, let's remember. So moderation, by the way, emotionally mature people know how to handle that. We don't scold ourselves for things. We have good self-talk. So I want to do that, my brain before the diet, the 3 days. And by the third, now I'm intrigued. So I got curious of myself. It was, oh my gosh, you're so cute. We are doing the diet, our 24 hours. Yes, they're going to tell us what to do with it, but that's okay. That's control. The left, I would do it. It wants to control the 24 hours, and it's in a fun way for me. But ask my mother when she asks me to change something in my room, what happens? It's an immediate 3-year-old, no! And so I'm still working on that one. But she forgives me, so it's okay. It's cool. We forgive each other. So when it comes to those who will be able to poke at you, quote unquote, it's always going to be the immediate first 5-hour parenting crew. You have a family. And even if you don't have one. So that's why I do understand when Patrick Tiahan points out that for him, no one has to forgive. And he's just trying to say some people aren't ready yet. And some people might never be. But what I'm trying to say is conscious humans know pause, awareness, self-leadership, and then that means true leadership. Because true leadership only creates leaders. Those who think they're leaders by using fear and tribalism and their small-mindedness are creating little puppets of each other, which is why when they're putting them on pedestals or throwing them in the trash, either or is an exaggeration. And I think, wow, you're definitely blinded by what is called a delusional idiot, the left, and a judgmental asshole, the right, because those same groups that decide to give scarlet letters to each other don't notice that 2 wrongs don't make a right. And so the minute you say, I'm right, it is right, it feels right, you've denied the very existence of every first 3 years of the life of all of us. And by the way, the first 8 are codependent. So denying that you have emotions is a very big red flag. Ding, 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 ding. The minute I hear that, don't be yourself. 2 red flags. How dare you want to be yourself? You're imperfect. Yeah, I am. I'm so sorry. 3 red flags. Excuse me, what'd you say? After fucking what? There's a woman on a screen. She's followed by millions. After they fuck you women, I'll never forget this. I make fun of it all the time. It's a 1 minute short and I'm waiting for it. And I was like, what? Wedding bells. I was like, no, you're trash. You're trash. My teenage boyfriends and girlfriends told me all about it. And then when I grew up, I just realized those are ignorant men and women. And now I know that there's a younger generation who's just as ignorant as they are, but I know why they're existing. Because again, 2 wrongs don't make a right. And because when religious experiences or no religious experiences, but the decentralizing the self, when people flip and flop, so they have experiences that disappoint them. Yes, now we have a whole bunch of people who are unlearning everything from our schools. Then we got a whole bunch of people who are wanting every single bit of apology for everything. And it's like, okay, we all want things to work out. We need to be able to talk about them. But if you're actively outraged and throwing shit at each other, that's never going to happen. So those who silence each other and they actually play with words. And so their control is not something that will seem to those who are following them around which is why we don't look and say, let me shame ignorance out of ignorance. Who's leading with shame? Who's leading with fear? Who's leading with control? Who's leading with and who's actively completely visible to every single bit of emotion intelligent, which means mentally intelligent human being out there, because we're not reactive. I almost reacted and then I remembered. Sovereignty, integrity, character, personality, every single bit of every ounce of me is a choice right now. And my mother taught me self-respect and respect for others, and people who don't know how to use their mouth, who don't know how to use their mannerisms. Yeah, this is why self-agent in front of you. Someone can spit in my face, talk in my face, do a bunch of shit. I just think, Mom, I didn't do the disrespectful thing. And I didn't need you, because I'm able to say, wow, I see we have different opinions. I'm going to say, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to hurt your feelings or any of what just happened. I think I should go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're on a completely different page. That's it. Now, for those who are educational, they're not going to be in this situation. The only people who would be in what I just presented are people who are following around the very unembodied leaders that are not leading. They're reactively. In fact, if you notice, they're not grounded in reality, because if they were, their cherishable beliefs would be able to be put here. It wouldn't be continuing with the word devil, demon, evil. It would be, okay, we all have people out there. Some are common sense and some are not. And so leadership, it's revealed under emotional pressure. And when they have been exposed, I do understand when I'm hearing the ones who say we want justice. They think that those of us who maintain emotional steadiness, that's why they think regulation is bypassing. It's like, no, emotional regulation is discernment and clarity, which means I know how to behave myself and how to not be taken over by my own 3-year-old and my 14-month-old, and then to become an ignorant human being in the presence of other ignorance. So the active capacity to hold your ground means you self-regulate in the presence of dysregulation, which is all the 5D collective. When I came across the term, and when I came across explanations from different spiritual masters, I remember someone who is able to maintain a specific demeanor, a specific energy, I'm going to bring it that way, is going to be able to bring harmony. But that's not necessarily true. They're simply going to be able to diffuse a situation. Because if you're in a dysregulated environment and you're the only self-regulating human being, everybody, this is the part of why the idiots don't understand what they're doing to themselves. And I just said it, idiots. I don't give monster name because it isn't a monster. That's the whole point. When someone wants to use that word, I'm like, you don't really realize what you're talking about. You're using fantasy language right now. And you're using stories. Instead, I'm not going to dehumanize those who you want to use that word with, because you're also making it seem like they're badass, like they're strong, like they mean something. I'm going to let you know they mean something, but not in that way. They're not scary. I'm sad for them. And I remind myself not to be too sad, because they're not going to look at me and be sad for me or for humanity. They are actively close-hearted. There is that passage of the Egyptian king's heart going harder and harder as he continued to do that which is not the right thing. Every 3-year-old knows what the right thing is, because we all have feelings and we all want to be loved and respected and seen and soothed and safe and secure. And that's why science explaining it doesn't disprove God's perfection. It proves it. The only ones who are going against it are the same ones who want to hold on to their books and say their books are all the right books. Oh, thanks. Oh, wow, you did such an amazing job. The 4th kryptonite to human awakening, evolution, to people being smart is, I'm right, you're wrong. And that's not in a way of, silly little arguments, which actually there's fun to be had in the right wrong thing. I'm talking effective realism, like people who, I went to Israel, it feels right. You're all feels, dude. You're all feels. So when you get charged, you'll notice it, because you'll hear yourself. And as Neil is teaching a class on how to think, I'm like, yeah, that's great. But if they don't own their brain, they're just going to learn how to wield their mouths in ways that are going to be obnoxious. Because we already have people who will believe that they know everything, so they're right, and not notice that they might not know enough to know they're wrong. Then to notice that information continues to be built, and to say that it doesn't is a bullshit statement, which is coming from epistemic laziness, which also means that they're following around the same people who model it. So when you meet bad leaders, they're bad self-leaders, which is what makes them bad leaders. They don't grow. What grows is love, not fear. What grows safety, security, and strong children is a safe body, self-regulating. And it's not a woman's bosom or a man's bosom. It's a human being who knows how to, under pressure, maintain their self while self-regulating in their ventral vagal state, because it's not a facade. And so when people don't know how to do it, again, it's very clear. But when I see some, I'm going to leave that one alone, is they're another set of people who, groupies, let them have fun with each other. So when people are purchasing based on urgency, fear of missing out, trends, basically when people are allowing themselves to deny what academics are and research and science, or they deny that they lack the knowledge. Okay, so I don't say you have to go to college, but if you didn't, you missed out on education in a way that I enjoyed. Yes, there's assholes in the schools too, but there's assholes everywhere. In the meantime, I'm not going to minimize academia because it's not a perfect system. So when someone wants to minimize academia, education, and the capacity for those who are instructors to teach us how to think and how to be, and they'd prefer going to those who don't get peer reviewed, you obviously lack the capacity to know safety and smarts, which actually is pretty clear because you want a controlled environment, which means you only want a tribal certainty, small little group out there, because you're willing to say that one group is better than another group, which makes you small-minded, which means that you're not open to everything, which also means you lack emotional, mental, and physical intelligence. Intelligent people don't purchase based on reactivity. And if they do, they will notice it. They will allow themselves. I've done it once. It wasn't reactivity in a way of like knee-jerk. It was a desperation. And I remember I was like, okay, plaque of shame. You're allowed a mistake. It's okay. And that's how I learned. And so you buy what you want to buy. You know what you're buying. You know how to vet sources. You're not thinking about gurus or cult leaders in the way that the charge groups are, because those charge groups, they're actively just labeling each other. It's not funny. It's actually quite sad. And so let's help people to understand, if you're healthy inside, you know, self-love, it means that you intuitively and instinctively will have been taught what a manipulative grown-up looks like and what to do when they manipulate their words. Nothing. You leave them alone, and you definitely repeat your very healthy boundaries in the absence of shaming, blaming, faulting, revenging. You don't need to have the same manners they have, because they actively revealed their very disgusting manners the minute they will have began to do whatever it is of bullshit, because we healthy ones didn't get the I'm confused of what love is. I'm just going to let you know. And the ones who achieve healthy self-respect also understand this. And while they might be like, we're still pissed, in a way of, I don't like those people who are still with the, and that's the part of where Patrick Chan says nobody has to forgive anyone. I'm not in that group. I'm in the group of I can forgive because I am able to stay Maria under pressure in the front of anyone, and then to notice when I got a buffoon in front of me, and then to know I'm 4'9", and I'm not talking to a person when they're in there, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm not talking to anyone except for their 0-8-year-old, which I'm not going to teach them manners. And I'm not going to say it's some monster demon that's possessing, or that they have no soul, or that they're not a part of my species. They are. They actively are, and they're actively revealing every bit of their fight, flight, freeze, flop, drop, all of that shit going on, and I know what's going on. That's it. So, you know, while others will give extreme examples of why they'd rather justify their anger, and therefore my 3-year-old, she can get all the hissiness she wants. It's not a sin to get angry, and that word in and of itself, I just think when people are using certain words, I'm like, okay, I get it, but you could use a better word. I don't know. That word just, I'm not going to say we need to remove it from our vocabulary, but we should actually stop using books from ancient times to talk about people, because there are people who still live those books as if they're real. If I had noticed that there were all discerning human beings out there, I'd be like, okay, people know common sense. I'm not seeing that. I actually got told I'm rejected because I'm a mystic. I still see people actually using words demon, evil, and what else? Whatever other words I was using before that just slipped my mind, against each other. And they're not learning the science. They're saying, nope, that's bullshit. neuroscience and biology and all of it. Attachment tribe is bullshit. And so you'll notice how easy it is to spot the ones who, instead of being aware, they're disconnected, and then they follow others around. So authenticity is easy for some of us, but it's a choice to be yourself under pressure, and others will have achieved the choice. And so once that happens, you don't put on a pedestal or in the shithole anyone who is basically not a true leader. You just make people aware. A cult leader or cult anything will isolate you, tell you they know everything, not allow you to have your own opinion, actually have complete mannerisms that are going to be like Diego's family from Ice Age. And if you don't notice it, that means that you're not yet ready to love yourself first, which is why Patrick Chan says it's a confusing statement to say to those who are childhood trauma survivors. And that's why the people who want to replace a therapist, you're not replacing a therapist. You just want to be groupies and not do the work, which is why I support anyone who is supporting people to do it the right way, the healing. And when I see instead the middle group, I know that that's for the ones who are wanting to be part of a trending topic, and they don't want to do it seriously, because some people just don't want to put their A game. And so while we can pursue emotional steadiness under activation, the ones who are just trending will use their mouths, will use the left, will continue to ruminate and use validation loops, not spot their own charges, and then continue to do what they do best, which is pretend to live life like Pinocchio, even though Pinocchio does turn into a real boy. So eventually, of course, we do know, thanks to knowledge being built over the years, we will definitely have more people who can, in calm moments and in under pressure moments, know how to self-regulate. Because anybody who is smart enough to notice the truth is going to be like, yeah, I have child parts, I have charges, got reactivity going on. I got all of it. I'm here, mystic, spiritual, or mindful, and it's really great to know that we can all achieve that kingdom of God within us without having to talk about a good group or a bad group. I know that some people are dressing up science and technology like the next evil thing, you know. It's like, okay, really? Wow. I mean, I know when we got the printing press, they probably were very upset about that. The TV, Elvis came out with rock and roll, so, you know, of course, everybody is, by the way, pause for a minute. I found that 3D, 4D a long time ago was going to stick around, and now I understand why. And so it's not good or bad, even though I wish that all people would be able to awaken to themselves, but it's not a choice that you make for them. It's a choice that they make for themselves. And it is true that the body is leading itself to that which is its own healing. However, because when the gut is off, those who don't have integration, they don't actually notice that their child parts are involved, and those first 3 years are implicit memory, which is where people don't believe. And I say implicit is all sensations. And if you're not actually integrating those child parts, you are not integrating. Because just randomly, without any knowledge whatsoever, yeah, I'm going to stop. I digress. I think of all the people who are out there not healing appropriately. And so I waste that time. So they'd rather continue to hang around the ones who tell them to break the habit of being themselves, to be the 2.0 version of themselves, and then to continue, like the high schoolers that I met, say that they're actually being authentic. Well, I noticed not really. And in the meantime, I'm being reminded that it's none of my business. So with that, I'm going to leave it alone, because it's a harder road for those who started with a short end of the stick. But I was actually looking for something that I'm going to pause so I can find it as we conclude, and something that is pretty common sense. If you do believe in yourself, if you do emotional intelligence, and if you do understand the entire conversation besides the storytelling that I also got to bring in, fear creates compliance. Compliance is comfortable for those who want control, because that's exactly why the left, the masculine, won't ever test a feminine. And when I use the word masculine, feminine, it's not gender. I equate it, the left, the masculine. When you have a divine masculine, then I say you're working with the left and right. Feminine would be the right alone. So you can fascinate child, not indulgent parent. You want just to be the grown-up version of you, emotionally aware. So under charges and activation, it's okay, let me use some journaling, let me think about some stuff, let me have a nice, safe conversation with someone, right? Okay, and so you're pursuing growth because you choose sovereignty, integrity, and that which is regulation. Love creates leaders. That's how you create a safe environment for children, 0 to 8 year olds, which is why those who are still feeling quite upset at their entire life being taken away from them, I can understand that. I will still choose forgiveness because that's something that helps to move along our species, but that's just because for me, it's easy to be authentic because I'm not afraid of being Maria and I don't have a mask. Those who had to wear masks and now are learning how to get rid of those, they will potentially feel different. So love creates growth, and so does that which is trust. And control cultures, which involve small-minded people, they don't. That's why, though, the forgiveness part. And being able to understand that whenever we are charged, our judgment will be perceived. So you can't lie your way through life in general because we all are nervous systems, which is why I work on my edge. I care about humanity. I care about personal spiritual growth, mine, yours, what we talk about. I don't like hypocrites. It's a pet peeve of mine. And so by reminding yourself, we're all people, we all can have validation loops. They don't look the same as everyone else. But the point is that you're not reactive when you're doing any kind of life, relationship, or purchase decisions. You are actively aware. Obviously, if you are ever reactive, and you will have been as your child growing up, stuff like that. And then let's remember the whole always, never, forever. We can tend to exaggerate with those words when something is very important to us. But that's why the difference is when you're emotionally steady, you're going to have a good time. 3-year-olds who have a good time, we have a playground. And then we do realize where those who are creating basically chaos, they don't know how to regulate themselves. It's why it makes us uncomfortable, unhappy, very frustrated, very irritated. The thing is, anger won't resolve it. And anger is about correcting. But beneath anger usually is going to be sadness for those of us who are connected, because no matter what anyone will want to say and use as stories, we're all people. So we all began the same way. And so what happens with fear is that it creates these followers, these people who like the lists that they're being given, but they're not growing. Let me read to you. And so for the short term, sure, people will follow along. The sad thing is there are people who will never awaken to the truth of what they did or how they went along because they don't awaken to the truth of themselves. And that's for a whole other episode. But yeah, over time, any type of fear manners will erode trust, creativity, because it in fact doesn't involve psychological safety. It involves mannerisms of that which shame, blame, fault, revenge people do, which is all dysregulation. So with science comes the truth in a way that is not a story. It is data, which then built into information, which is knowledge, which is wisdom, which gives us clarity, which is why when someone says God doesn't need science, Maria, and you're rejected, I think I know God doesn't need science, but science isn't disproving the perfection he's created. So anybody who wants to talk to me about being a leader and then not noticing how science proves everyone's well-being must be either ignorant of material at hand, or they think they're right, as Neil deGrasse pointed out, because they will know enough about a subject, but they are so arrogant to not notice that they don't know enough to notice if they're wrong. No, in this case, it's that they decided that they don't want the books of science to come into the mix somehow, because they're still thinking that books compete or something, that the left brain is. That's just why it's like a nonsense, it's illogical. It's the other reason why fear can't win, because they completely don't know not only how to sit in neutrality, so they can't discern, they're epistemic lazily doing everything, and then with their arrogance they're saying no, we're not, and it's just way too much time. So people will stop thinking independently and start protecting themselves. Well, they already protect themselves from each other. People don't think independently when they're in this I want tribal certainty, meaning here's the 5 ways of doing it right, and here's where some people think that humanity lacks the capacity to be self-leaders. There's a guy out there who said that human beings are made to continue to only be in tribes. And I'm like, we actually all have 14-month-olds, and we all have the same 3-year-olds. So really, it's about open-minded groups who will welcome each other with their differences. And since love is completely easy, it's easy for us to stay authentic, and it's easy for us to get rejected and accept and then create new relationships. I'm pretty sure that the ones who are going to live an easy life and who are going to say, look, okay, can we work it out, or are going to find ways to work it out, are the ones who don't bring in the chaos, but the ones who find the solutions, which is why they're also the ones who are mostly successful. The ones who are pointing out at how many of poor leadership are out there, we know that. Again, our kings and queens were 14 years of age. I mean, it's pretty common sense, meaning linear history, unless you want to create conspiracy history stories and all that other stuff, which I know a bunch of people like to do. But I like to let you know about sociology and academia. So grounded in reality is, yeah, there's a lot of holes in places, but there's also a lot of pretty clear answers when it comes to how things move along. And so while I do enjoy my 4D and 3D brothers and sisters, in fact, I heard one of their channels just the other day, I like to let you know that I get to bring it all in. And so in the meantime, I did see the future Earth, because I know my future husband and myself, and it's before we need to all leave Earth, if that makes any one of you feel good. I know the ones who think I'm pseudoscience and don't believe in any mystic stuff or any of that consciousness sphere stuff will say, yeah, whatever. And I know my logic brain is like, Maria, 99.99999% that what you experienced is true, but you still have that 0.1%. And that's why we have flat earthers. Thanks for checking that corner, flat earthers. So that's how, what came first, the chicken or the egg? If you're a person who's emotionally aware, under pressure, you're fine. You're like, yeah, we would like to have all the answers, but we don't. Meantime, we have 24 hours. So hopefully we all get to say tomorrow, yes, another day to build a better world. Let's make the world a better place for you and for me and the entire human. Yes, I'm still recycling. I'm still looking to reserve energy and do all the things that can help. So let's put our best feet forward. And the ones who don't like that we eat meat, I want a sustainable planet. I don't believe I have to become a vegetarian at all. And that's a whole other group of extremists, and they're all over the place. So it's very, very interesting when you see people who don't know how to sit in the middle and just say, we can figure it out. Because well, maybe I'll have to give up meat. If that's the case, I'll give it up. But I'm just saying I can eat meat and love animals. And I can also know that there's things that go on that we want to fix. And with the emotional stability, say it will be done. The ones who, again, are still here, thank you for being here. Being yourself under pressure. You don't lose authenticity, and you maintain that calm centeredness. And those who instead, they expose themselves under pressure, it's so sorry, I'm going to leave. You don't like me anymore. I didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings, and I wasn't trying to play that I know science better than you know science or spirit or anything like that. It's not worth it to get into an argument, So, again, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.